I'm hearing you. It's so hot in here. I'll have this, I'm going to turn this speaker on so when we go, you'll be able to hear the videos. All right, here we go. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me for WLBT Plus. We're standing on the wrong side again, CJ.
No, I think we're okay.
No, we are right.
We're good.
Well, y'all, it's been a day already. Thank goodness it is Friday, and we are here. I was like, I checked that earlier. I thought we were on the right side, and we were. All right, so we are here with CJ LeMaster, and we've got some information, or possible information, regarding the FBI raids that happened with DA Jody Owens here in Jackson a few weeks ago. CJ's been doing some investigating on that, haven't you?
Yeah, we've been digging into this, and the challenge here is going into FBI raids, going into any situation where we have limited information.
Mm-hmm.
It's very difficult because we're getting, and you may see it by looking at our Facebook page, you may see it on social media, we're getting this avalanche of information from people, of tips, most of which, quite honestly, is just speculation and just rampant. Some of it is purposeful. Some people are sharing it because they think it might be true, but they don't know the source of it. And so it almost becomes this, it's its own animal, if you will. And so it's like, okay, well, how do we kind of separate, not even separating fact from fiction, because I don't even want to like give these theories any credence, any credit, but how do we go through and actually see whether or not there could be some more aspects to this. Now, I want to say at the beginning here that we have not found a link between these meetings that we're talking about and the FBI raids that happened on the DA's business and his office at the Hinds County Courthouse. The only link, the only commonality is the fact that both of these involved Hinds County District Attorney Jody Owens. And that's it. That's all. That's the only way that those two things are tied together.
Right.
So we're not, I'm not where we can say that we know that these meetings then led to these raids. We don't know that. And we have to be very careful that we're not putting things out there that haven't been vetted or confirmed, even through our own digging. You know, the federal government is very tight-lipped about these things. A lot of times we won't find out their details of their investigation until they put out indictments. If they put out indictments or bills of information, if they don't go before a grand jury. And so some of that stuff could have already happened and it's under seal. So we don't know. And so the last thing I'm going to do is speculate. I will say before we get started, here's what we do know. We know that on May 22nd, federal agents hit with search warrants Jody Owens' office on the 5th floor of the Hinds County Courthouse and a business owned by Owens, the Downtown Cigar Company, which is located in downtown Jackson. It's on Pearl Street. Pearl and Lamar right there, close to 4th Avenue, if you're familiar with that area of downtown Jackson. And so that's all we know. We don't even know the reasons for the search warrants at this point. There's a lot of stuff that we're still trying to work through and figure out. But when we started talking to some council members, and, you know, initially Councilman Ashby Foote had talked to Jackson Jambalaya about, they were just talking about something completely unrelated to that and ended up saying, well, we had this meeting. And he's, well, what kind of meeting is this? And, well, we had this meeting with developers. Oh, really? And Jody Owens was there. Oh, really? And so we went and talked to Ashby Foote ourselves. And then we sat down with Vernon Hartley, the councilman for Ward 5. And then I didn't expect him to say that they had a meeting. Typically, when we're in these situations, when we're interview people, we like to know the answers to the questions before we ask them. We like to kind of know what we're going to be getting. That was a surprise. We didn't know that he had actually been. And it turns out that most of the council members had taken meetings with these developers. We don't know if they're the same ones in each meeting, but the common thread there was that Jody Owens had asked those council members to meet with these people, and Owens was there leading the conversation in many cases. And so then you start to think, okay, what are these meetings about? These council members noticed some things that were a little off
Right.
from typical meetings they get. And so we kind of explored that to some degree too.
Yeah. Well, we've got a clip here from Councilman Vernon Hartley, where he was talking to you about the meeting, and you had asked what kind of feelings that he was getting from the meeting, from them sitting down with him, and if he picked up on anything, or if there was any information that he could share regarding the meetings.
Well, the thing that I think about, and so, okay, let's take the FBI raids out of the picture completely.
Right.
If you're meeting with developers and they want to do business with the city, whether they're above board or not, whether they are legitimate or there's a scam going on or something going on, they might be trying to feel you out to see whether or not, they can, I hate to say get over on you, but they might be trying to feel you out to see, okay, with this person, if we're really nice to them, can they make sure that we're the ones that get the bid?
Right.
If we offer them something to sweeten the deal, are there ways that this person can be manipulated? And Hartley said flat out that no, that I'm not that guy.
Right.
And then I said, well, did they try to feel you out to see if you were? And he said, well, he didn't think so. He didn't get that sense, but he always likes to say that going into meetings to make sure that, and listen, we've had issues with this happening in the city of Jackson before. We've had allegations of these things happening in the city of Jackson before. And so, but even and before the current administration. So this is not a Lumumba administration thing. It happened.
Mm-hmm.
There were allegations of contract steering during the Arbor administration with a former public works director who is no longer with the city. This was years and years ago.
Yeah.
So it's not outside the realm of possibility that when you're opening up conversation for development,
Mm-hmm.
that a developer might want to make sure that he's the only one
Right.
that gets the deal.
Right.
And so, it lends itself to the question, well, what were these guys doing there? And
Mm-hmm.
who were they? And even that we've had trouble answering.
Yes. So we'll play this clip from Councilman Hartley right now.
I don't remember what their goal was. I was asking, you got a pamphlet or anything? And so I never got anything like that.
No business cards from these guys.
No business cards.
Yeah. So no business cards from the guys, no kind of pamphlet. They really, and you said here, or he said earlier, there really wasn't even a clear direction in the meeting with them.
No, he got the sense that they were wanting to talk to him about a possible business opportunity, commercial business for Ward 5, which is, if you're familiar with the city of Jackson, Ward 5 encompasses portions of, I'm kind of blanking now,
Mm-hmm.
but you've got areas in and around the city, Ward 5, and I think Councilman Stokes' ward over in Ward 3 as well, are some of the areas that are probably the most challenged from an economic development standpoint.
Right.
There's not a lot there. And, where Hartley lives and where he's been in that ward for a number of years, it's just, when somebody says, hey, I want to talk to you about a possible economic development
Right.
opportunity, and that area has been so depressed for so long, yeah, that's going to get his attention.
It really is. I mean, that's his people he is charged with taking care of.
Yeah.
That's getting them jobs and things like that. So it's understandable
Yeah.
that if a developer would call them, yeah, I'll talk to you, have a meeting with you. But unfortunately, these guys didn't provide him really any information as to who they were or why they were there, or really clear direction on that. And Councilman Hartley did say that he maybe wrote down some names, but now he doesn't remember. And he also said, now looking back, he didn't get any red flags during the meeting. So,
Yeah, and I think that's interesting to note too. And we didn't want to leave that out because, again, he didn't think there was anything to this when he met with them in January of this year. Obviously, with these raids, he's thinking a little differently now.
Yeah.
Okay, well, what was there something I missed before? And to his point, he said and we didn't have this part in the story. We had it in a portion of the story that aired at 5 yesterday. But he said, look, you have the top litigator in the county coming to me with information on possible economic development opportunities. What reason do I have not to trust him?
Right.
He's a credible attorney. He represents the county.
Right.
You know, that carries with it a degree of he's credible.
Yeah.
I mean, and so why would you think that ultimately, automatically, oh, he must be up to no good? No, I mean, so the impression and the credibility that Jody Owens brings with him made Hartley feel like, oh, well, yeah, this is fine. I don't think anything's wrong with this at all. I think it's just a meeting. It didn't set off any alarm bells with him.
Yeah. No, you also spoke with Councilman Ashby Foote. What council is he? Or area is he?
He's Ward 1. So Ward 1 is sort of more the northeastern part of the city.
Okay.
So you're going to have portions. M-Bar is there off Ridgewood, so that's some of that area is Councilman Foote's ward. And it seems like these guys, at least as far as we can tell, basically took meetings with nearly everybody.
And the guys, the guys, you mean the
These
developers.
And again, we don't know if it's the same sets. We don't know if the same people talked to Hartley that talked to Foote.
Right.
Foote's meeting was a month and a half after Hartley's.
A month and a half later. So, but the one common thing, though, is that the DA, Jody Owens, he orchestrated the meetings.
Yeah, he set up the meeting. He reached out and tried to get, or somebody from his office reached out, and he attended all the meetings. And, this one dealt with the possibility of a convention center hotel, which the city of Jackson's been trying to get for some time. Yes, convention center's been open for more than a decade, and the city has been trying to get a hotel there to help bolster, activities and things, people coming there, trying to have these large-scale conventions. You want to have rooms nearby. You want to have amenities. And that's something that we have not been able to utilize and have here.
Right. So we're going to play a clip from Councilman Foote where he's talking about the meeting that he had with the developers.
They asked the question, how does Jackson work? Who's the movers and shakers? And how do we identify that? Yeah. So it was a little sketchy, I would call it.
Hindsight is always 20/20.
Yeah.
So if he's looking back, and he's remembering the meeting and then seeing what has happened, it could seem a little sketchy because correct me if I'm wrong, but he got information on who the developers were, Councilman Foote, right?
Well, no, he got information on what they told him they were with a particular company.
Okay.
But he didn't have specific names for us. He said that he believed they were from Nashville. And that they were with this company called Facility Solutions Team, LLC. And at the time, we didn't know who that company was, what significance that company had. We found out later in looking at that company was created by Jody Owens. And so now it goes from these guys Jody's brought these guys to the table so they can meet with people who could possibly future economic projects in the city of Jackson Jody's bringing these guys that are with him, his company, and together they're doing this. And what's interesting to me is that if it happened during Foote's meeting, he never said it to us in terms of, he didn't say that Jody was, introducing these guys, but he never said that, this is my company with them. He never had any kind of ownership, at least that Councilman Foote told us. So, for him to then find out after the fact that this was Jody's company is kind of interesting.
Yes. We're going to play another clip from Councilman Foote right here, talking about what he thought about Jody Owens being there.
Yeah.
That's a good question, and that's an obvious question now is why in the heck was the district attorney being involved in economic development?
And that is a good question, especially, I would say hindsight 20/20. You look back on it, you seeing what has happened since those meetings occurred with Jody Owens and then the FBI. You just look back and it makes it at the very least it brings up the questions.
It does, and it also shows where Councilman Foot's mindset was. That to me clearly shows that Owens never said, "This is my company.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in business with these guys."
Because if he did, then it would make sense for him to be involved in the economic development.
Yeah, yeah, and for me to ask him that, and him to say, "Well, he doesn't know really why they were there, or why Jody was there with them," and so. And again, even that, if we're going to play devil's advocate, even that doesn't mean that anything was nefarious at all. It wasn't mentioned during the meeting for whatever reason.
It wasn't disclosed, whether that be intentionally or unintentionally.
Yeah, it wasn't.
So we show that I'm gonna pull this up on the screen for everybody to see. And nope, wrong one. There we go. So this shows when his initial meeting with Hartley was, which was in January 11th.
Right.
And then he met with Foot on February 29th. And then March the 19th is when the company, Facilities Solutions Teams LLC, was created with the state.
Yeah. So you have to file paperwork with the Secretary of State's office in order to properly create and form certain companies in Mississippi to do business.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting that the developers mentioned the name of the company before the company even actually existed.
Right. And that was at least 2-3 weeks before when he met with Foot that he gave that information. So it brings up it just brings up a lot of questions. That's really the investigation that we've discovered some, and then it just led to more questions.
Well, and if you look at the February 29th and if you look at the sequence of events, February 29th to March 19th, the one piece that you don't see in this graph, and it was later in the piece that we did it, but in between February 29th and March 19th, round about March 12th is where Owens' company submitted a bid to the city on the Convention Center Hotel. So now, not only are these developers meeting with Foot, but then almost 2 weeks later, they make the March 12th deadline to submit something. Again, as an official company.
Right.
And then a week later, they create the company. So, I'm not a lawyer. I don't profess to be. I don't give legal advice. That's my disclaimer for today.
Yeah.
I can tell you that we have had instances where people have tried to get contracts with the city of Jackson and other cities in the past. And when the company is created either right after or right before that they, try to do business with the city, especially if it's done right after and they maintain they have a company and then suddenly it comes out of nowhere and they make it after the fact, it does raise a few questions. And again, I'm not saying there's anything illegal about that. I'm not saying that means anybody's going to get, there's fines or anything like that in terms of what could happen. But it certainly raises some concerns.
It does. And so this company that turns out Jody Owens owns, of course, I say that we know for sure that it was this company that was the name was given to Councilman Foot.
Yeah.
We don't know that about the other councilman that we spoke with, and we haven't spoke with any of the other council members.
Well, no, we've reached out to everybody, but we don't have specifics that we can report from those other council members. And so, when we talk about how reporters do their jobs and whether or not somebody gives you something on the record, if somebody gives you something off the record, then we can't use it. And so any conversations that we've had with any other elected officials, and I will leave it that vague so we don't identify anybody, we can't share that, unfortunately, because none of that was given to us on the record. So, we reached out to everybody. Foot and Hartley graciously came forward to talk to us.
Yes.
And that's, that's the way that goes. So it's okay. It's you kind of wish that you had more of a picture of what's going on from these elected officials. But then you also have to consider the fact that at the same time we're asking all these questions, they may be getting questions and calls from federal investigators, either related to what we're looking into or this FBI stuff. And so, I'm sure they're probably the last thing they're probably thinking about if they're having to be interviewed by the FBI is whether or not they call me back.
Right.
I get that. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of things that are going on within the city right now regarding this, and so yeah.
Yeah, and of course, as we get any information that we can report, if we discover or uncover anything that we can report,
Yeah.
we certainly are going to do that. But this is just kind of like where we're at right now. Again, we still have not gotten information from the FBI on even why they did the raids.
No, we don't know why the reason for the raids. We don't know what they're looking at. We don't know if. So what we can say right now, and again, this is just knowing a small piece of what the federal government's case is that at this point, knowing that we have 2 confirmed locations that they raided, even if they may have raided 6 locations and they only have 2 that were confirmed, we know that the target of those raids was Jody Owens because there were businesses directly connected to him, his business, and of course his primary job, which is an elected official as Hinds County DA.
Right.
So we can conclusively say that based on that information we have, that he is the center of their investigation right now. Now we don't know whether or not there are others who are
a part of the investigation.
Yeah, we have no idea.
You guys are joining us on Facebook, and we certainly do appreciate it. Rashonda Walters said 2024, the year of exposure. So, I mean, and not just in the, with these raids. And like I said, we don't know why the raids were done. We don't know that. But that does seem to be the case that's happening. Things are coming to light this year.
Well, when we had the raids actually, and we get calls all the time from people saying various things that turn out not to be true. And so I got tipped off that morning. And then when somebody told me about it, I played it off at first. I said, there's no way there are no federal agents. Come on. And I said, but you know what? I'm on my way. I drive by there on my way to work. I'll just look. And sure enough, 2 unmarked SUVs, guys with flak jackets that said FBI in the back. And I said, okay. So that's when I had to call the newsroom back and say, hey, there is something going on here. We need to, make sure that we see what it is and the extent of it, that we can figure it out. So I'm hoping we'll learn more soon. And the problem is that we don't even have a time frame for that. We would love to speak to the district attorney. We'd love to speak. We reached out to Jody. We've reached out to his office. And so he has not given us a statement, has not responded to those requests. And that's certainly his right. I'm hoping that we'll get to talk with some of the players in this and some of the people that have been targeted by these raids at some point, where we can actually ask them questions and get some of those answers for people. Because at this point, I think when you don't know what's going on, that's when the realm of possibility goes to, it could be everything. It could be all these people that aren't even connected to the city anymore and all this. We don't know any of that.
Yeah.
We're just trying to figure out small bits and pieces at this point. And hopefully we'll get the big picture at a later date.
Yes. So we, in speaking with Councilman Hartley, you had asked him if he entertained the possibility that the guys that he met with may have been undercover agents with the FBI, because if they were doing a big investigation, that is within the big realm of possibilities.
Well, and Hartley has a background in investigations. He's worked with state agencies to that degree, regulatory agencies. And so I thought that I could kind of draw from his experience in asking him, whether or not, if these guys were undercover, what does that tell you about where they are with their case?
Right. If they were undercover. So let's hear, we're going to hear what he had to say.
They're just, they're wrapping up stuff now. Other parts, I would say they're rattling, they're shaking the trees. And lying to the FBI is a felony. Okay, so it would behoove folks to just come clean.
It is a felony. So if there are people that know something, or they're not telling the FBI, maybe they should.
Yeah, I mean, if the old adage, if you know something, say something. But certainly, I think, and it's easy for me to say that because I'm not involved in it. But obviously, the people that are being probably interviewed or being talked to, they don't have any idea what the federal government has.
Right.
We have certainly no idea what the federal government has, and so
If they want to tell us, though, we would love to know.
oh yeah, I'd absolutely love to know. But I get that it's probably pretty intimidating to be in a room with federal agents. What I hope is that this will be resolved quickly, effectively, and that it doesn't implicate too many other elected officials. And I say that because as a resident of Jackson too, and I talked about this with both council members, every time something like this happens, when you have arrests, when you have raids, when you have investigations into public officials, credibility takes a hit.
It does.
The trust, public trust in these elected officials, whether the individuals were involved or not, everybody gets affected. Everybody gets hit. And for the future of the capital city and everything, it's important to root out these illegal elements if they do exist, wherever they exist. But it also is unfortunate because, the city's trying to bounce back economically and do new things. And this plays into more the naysayers of just, talking badly about Jackson. And it may, you don't want economic developers saying, oh, well, I don't want to associate with you because of this. And
right.
So, hopefully, as this is resolved, and this whatever illegal activity that they find, if they find it, if they indict, if they prove it, is rooted out, and then things can move up from there and can become more positive for the city.
And I know people have asked the question: is it right for the DA, or is it allowed for the DA to own businesses outside of what his main job is, or to have another job outside of his main job as the DA? And you guys, you got some information on that.
So we acquired there's a policies and procedures manual for the DA's office for Hinds County. And they basically say that the office does not prohibit what they call outside employment. It has to be approved. It can't interfere with the DA's duties, raise any ethical concerns, or have any impact on the employee's effectiveness. And this applies to all lawyers that work within the office, which presumably would include Owens too. The one caveat, and I didn't mention this last night because it's not really relevant here, the DA cannot have any other employment with regard to practicing law. He can't have any private practice. He can't go represent somebody in another county in a DUI, for example.
Right.
If I'm just giving a hypothetical. His primary job is chief litigator of Hinds County, and he, in terms of the law and anything legal, he has to stay within that realm. And that's state statute that sets that. It's not a policies and procedures thing. It's state law does not allow any DA of any county to have any kind of outside legal employment, such as a private practice.
But he could have the businesses.
Yeah,
it's not against the rules or against the law for him to do this.
And if you want to be, listen, how many of us know people out there who flip houses in addition to what they do for a living as their primary job? So it's not unreasonable. People have real estate opportunities all the time. And so just that by itself isn't unusual. I think where people start to look at this and wonder whether or not there is something unusual here is the extent to which these other individuals were involved, and whether or not I think it might have been surprising, obviously, for a DA to be making these calls. I've never seen a DA bid for a public project, and maybe that's happened in other parts of the state. I'm not, could be ignorant to that and not know about it. So it made it a little unusual. And the fact that the company was referenced and was even used in filings to try to get a contract before it even existed, is a little unusual.
Now, is the policy and procedures that we received exclusively from the Hinds County DA's office that said that they had to get written approval for having any of these outside employments by the DA, which would be Jody Owens, or a designee, so someone who could sign for Jody.
Well, and let me say something really quickly too. We said we obtained it exclusively. We did not. The way you said it, I don't want to apologize. No, you're fine. I don't want to give the impression that we got it from the DA's office. We obtained that information. We're not at liberty to say where we obtained it from.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. So it did come from We did not take it from the DA's office, but
it is the DA. It is the policies and procedures of the DA's office, but we cannot say where we got it from. So I
yep.
don't want to make it sound like we got it from a particular agency or anything
Right.
like that. Yeah.
Do we know, or is there a way for us to find out if DA Owens, if he did follow this policy and procedure?
Well, that would not be for us to determine. It would probably have to be for, I don't know if it would fall to supervisors. I don't know if it would be something on the state level where they would look at that. Certainly, if there was any chance that he violated statute, then one could make the argument. But you maybe a petition for removal, but I don't see that happening in this case. There's not a lot of options when it comes to elected officials in terms of accountability in these situations, because if he violates it and the public is mad enough about it, they can wait until it's election time again and they can rally behind his opponent, or they can try to have a petition and go that route. We've seen how in a lot of cases, though, that fizzles out. I'll use an example that has nothing to do with this story. People have been saying repeatedly in the Goon Squad thing that Rankin County Sheriff Brian Bailey should resign.
Right.
A lot of people have been saying that. There were a number of write-ins in the election. People didn't want to vote for him. They just wanted to write somebody else's name in. He won re-election. He was unopposed. And so short of organizing a petition to remove somebody, he's pretty much there. There's nothing you can do about that. Now, if he's, indicted, convicted, obviously that's a different conversation. But where it stands right now, he's in that office as long as he wants to be, unless somebody removes him. And my point in saying all that is, if there's not widespread efforts to remove Brian Bailey, given all the things that have happened with the Goon Squad and whether or not he may have known about that, I don't see that kind of reaction and people rallying behind those efforts with the DA.
Yes.
I don't see that.
All right. So that's where we are right now. That's all of the information that we have that could possibly be, regarding the FBI raids. We do know for certain that they happened. We got confirmation that it was DA Owens' businesses that were raided, as well as his office at the courthouse. And outside of that, there's not a lot more information about the FBI raids that we have right now that we can give as we definitely know that this is true.
No, because we hear a lot of things and we hear a lot of stuff off the record and we hear a lot of rumor. But until we get confirmation or we're comfortable in getting information from multiple sources about various things we can tie together, we're not going to put it out.
Right. But we are looking to see what we can find. And, CJ and his investigations and everything was able to discover these things. So, like I said, it really just kind of almost leads to a lot more questions. Yeah. It really does. But it's going to be one of the things where it's just going to be where you're just going to have to wait for time to sort it out.
That's right.
Yep. But we are waiting. We are watching.
We are.
So I appreciate you guys joining us here on Facebook as well as on our website and YouTube. And I hope you guys have a great weekend. We're going to let CJ go do some work besides just stand around and talk with me. And I appreciate you guys. I will see you again on Monday. Bye, y'all. There we go. That was good. We didn't say anything wrong. Or we didn't say anything out of pocket.